Hi, scrolling along with Susan. Today I'm going to be making a wooden vase, and this is a Steve Good pattern that I made a little bit larger, or actually a little bit smaller than his pattern, and I'm going to be using 1-inch thick walnut and 2/4 inch thick pieces of maple for the outside. And I'm going to do a little bit differently. Instead of cutting them out individually, I'm going to put them all together and cut the outside out first on my scroll saw, then take them apart and do all of the intricate work that I need to do for the inside of the vase and the pretty rose on the front. This is going to be 1.5 inches thick, and you can take each one of the patterns and put them on each piece and cut it out that way. But I'm going to use double-sided, very thin double-sided carpet tape. I believe I bought this at Menards. And put all of the pieces together and cut the outside first so that everything is the same size. There'll be a lot less sanding afterwards. It's going to be thicker, but my scroll saw can handle it just fine. Make sure your pieces have been sanded and wiped down so that there's no sawdust that's going to interfere with this double-sided tape. And you can see I have them in pieces, not in just one big piece. And I'm going to attach it here and make sure that the bottom and the one of the sides is all lined up. And then you just repeat for the next piece. Now my next step is to wrap the whole thing around with double-sided, with packing tape, so that will give me the tape to glue the pattern to instead of sticking directly to the wood. I use Gorilla Glue for my spray adhesive here. I'm using the top pattern piece because I am going to be, when I separate these pieces, I'm going to be using this. This is my top, so I'm going to be cutting it out. I won't have to re-glue it. I'm using a number 7 blade. It's reverse tooth. You don't have to use reverse. And this is Flying Dutchman Penguin Silver Reverse, PSR 7. This material is about 1.5 inches thick, so be prepared to have to change blades often. I'll probably use 2 different blades to get through this. A lot of times choosing a blade is trial and error. I should have started with this one, the Pegasus Super Skip 7, because I really don't need it to be that refined on the reverse side because I'll be sanding it. But you know, you just keep trying until you find the right blade. I neglected to tell you that you need to make sure that your blade is a 90-degree angle from your table so you don't have any slants on all of these pieces. They're all they're straight up and down so that they will fit nicely. I can already tell that this little guy is cutting a lot faster and a lot better. Whoops, got off the line there. Let's back up and get back on line. I think it may have been easier if I just cut each one of them separately and then sanded them after I glued them together. But I'm going to continue this way. This again, this blade seems to be fine. Now, I want to make a point about blades. They are so cheap. As soon as you feel yourself starting to really push, change the blade. I was getting off just a little bit and I realized my body was not straight on with the piece. And you tend to accidentally slide to the left or the right a little bit that way, so make sure your body is straight on with this piece, right in front of it. I've already removed the top 2 pieces. Now I'm just taking off the carpet tape, respraying, and placing this on the walnut so I can cut that out next. I'm back to a Pegasus Skip Tooth number 7 blade. This should go much quicker. You have probably already guessed that a lot of these cutting sections I sped up so that you didn't have to watch me in real time cut this all out. And this one, as I suspected, went a lot quicker with only 1 inch thick. I have drilled all my pilot holes in my holes for the rows, and I'm going to cut both of them out so that it's two-sided with the rows. You can change your blade to a number 3 or 5 or smaller if you'd like. I'm cutting out the simple parts first, the more rounded with a couple little points first before I try to attempt the leaves. The leaves have a lot of jagged edges, but you don't have to follow it exactly, but if you're fairly close, it'll look really nice. Just keep a nice grip on it and keep curving it back and forth until it looks like a nice leaf edge. It's time to sand all the fuzzies on the back side after I've finished cutting out the rows. And of course, now peeling off the top. I have sanded all my pieces and it's time for the glue up. And I like to use Titebond Quick and Thick. Make sure you do a nice coverage of all of the wood that's going to be glued up so it's nice and strong. You're going to have some squeeze out, and you want that. I'm going to flip it over and glue the other side. This is using Quick and Thick, and it pretty much bonds in about 20 minutes completely. So I want to work kind of quickly here. Time to place the other one on, making sure my orientation is correct. Now it's time for the clamping. I ended up using 6 clamps in all. Sometimes you need more than that to make sure there's no gaps. At this point, when the glue starts drying, you can scrape off the extra glue before it gets too hard. Everything's very well glued, and now it's time to do a light sanding on the outside. You can use just with your hands with sandpaper. You can use any various tools that you want. I like using this that's attached to my bench grinder, and it's just a tube of sandpaper, so I can actually get nice and close and even and sand the whole piece at once. No matter how good your tools are, there's always a little bit of hand sanding that's left. Just taking a light coating of mineral spirits to get rid of all the excess residue. This will raise the grain. You can also use water to raise the grain and then do a sanding with like a 400 size sandpaper. I have chosen to finish my piece with some natural Danish oil. And you can put as many coats as you want on this. I probably think 2 or 3 will be enough. Don't forget the inside too, especially the part that people can see. I just want to put another shout out there to Steve Good for this great pattern. I think it turned out very nice. And I have some obviously fake flowers in here, but you can put a vase in here that's about 1.5 inch by 1 inch wide and put live flowers in it. What a nice housewarming gift this might be for someone. So I hope you enjoyed this project. And again, thank you very much for watching.